Members of the amateur Old Christians Club rugby union team from Montevideo, Uruguay, were scheduled to play a match in Santiago, Chile, against the Old Boys Club, an English rugby team. Club president Daniel Juan chartered a Uruguayan Air Force twin turboprop Fairchild FH-2I-27D airplane to fly the team over the Andes Mountains to Santiago. The aircraft carried 40 passengers and 5 crew members. The pilot in command, Colonel Julio Cesar Ferradas, was an experienced Air Force pilot with 5,117 hours of flight time. He was accompanied by co-pilot Lieutenant Colonel Dante Hector Lagurara. There were 10 extra seats, so the team invited friends and family members to accompany them. When someone canceled at the last minute, Graciela Mariani purchased a ticket so she could attend her oldest daughter's wedding. The aircraft departed Carrasco International Airport on 12 October 1972, but a storm front over the Andes forced them to spend the night in Mendoza, Argentina, to wait for meteorological conditions to improve. Although there is a direct westerly route from Mendoza to Santiago, the high mountains, including Mount Aconcagua at 6,959 meters, 22,931 ft, were near the FH-227D's service ceiling of 8,500 meters, $28,000 ft. With the aircraft loaded to capacity, this direct route would have required the pilot to fly very carefully to avoid the mountains. Instead, it was customary for turboprops to fly the longer 600-kilometer, 370 miles, 90-minute U-shaped route to Malargüe south of Mendoza using the A7 airway, now UW44, then west along the G17 airway, now UB684, crossing Planchon Pass and on to the Curacao radio beacon in Chile, and from there due north to descend and land in Santiago. The weather on 13th October affected the flight adversely. On the morning of the flight, meteorological conditions over the Andes had yet to improve, but the weather was expected to improve by the early afternoon. The pilot delayed the flight and took off from Mendoza at 2:18 p.m. on Friday, 13th October. He flew south towards the Malargüe radio beacon at flight level 180, 18,000 feet or 5,500 meters. Lagurara radioed their position to Malargüe Airport to inform them that they expected to cross the 2,515 meters, 8,251 ft high Planchon Pass at 3:21 p.m. Planchon Pass is the air traffic control handoff point between Chile and Argentina. After crossing the Andes into Chile, the aircraft was supposed to turn north and initiate their descent into Pudahuel Airport in Santiago. The inexperienced co-pilot, Lieutenant Colonel Dante Hector Lagurara, was piloting the aircraft at the time of the accident. He mistakenly believed the aircraft had overflown Curacao, the turning point to fly north, and began descending towards what he thought was Pudahuel Airport in Santiago de Chile. He failed to notice that instrument readings indicated he was still 69 kilometers, 3743 miskers east of Curacao. Lagurara, upon regaining visual flight conditions, saw the mountain and unsuccessfully tried to gain altitude. The aircraft struck a mountain ridge, shearing off both wings and the tail cone. The remaining portion of the fuselage slid down a glacier at an estimated 350 kilometers h, 220 minutes of height, descending 725 meters, 2,379 ft, before ramming into an ice and snow mound. The flight was carrying 45 passengers and crew, including 19 members of the Old Christians Club rugby union team, along with their families, supporters, and friends. 3 crew members and 9 passengers died immediately, and several more died soon after due to the frigid temperatures and the severity of their injuries. The crash site is located at an elevation of 3,570 meters, 11,710 ft, in the remote Andes Mountains of western Argentina, just east of the border with Chile. Search and rescue aircraft overflew the crash site several times during the following days, but failed to see the white fuselage against the snow. Search efforts were called off after 8 days of searching. During the 72 days following the crash, the survivors suffered from extreme hardships, including sub-zero temperatures, exposure, starvation, and an avalanche, which led to the deaths of 13 more passengers. The remaining passengers resorted to cannibalism to survive. Convinced they would die if they did not seek help, 2 survivors, Nando Parado and Roberto Canessa, set out across the mountains on December 12th. Using only materials found in the aircraft wreck, they climbed 839 meters, 2,753 ft, from the crash site up 30 to 60 degree slopes to a 4,503-meter, 14,174 ft ridge to the west of the summit of Mount Seller. From there, they trekked 53.9 kilometers, 33.5 miles an hour, for 10 days into Chile before finding help. On 22 and 23 December 1972, 2.5 months after the crash, the 14 remaining survivors were rescued. Their survival made worldwide news.